Imagine living in a world where your own mind becomes the most persistent source of fear. You're trying to enjoy breakfast, but your brain interrupts. What if that thought means you're dangerous? You try to dismiss it, but it clings. You search for proof, reassurance, control. You check. You pray. You ask. And you do it again. This isn't occasional overthinking, it's a storm with no off switch. For millions living with obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, this storm is their reality. It's not quirky or cute. It's exhausting. It's terrifying. And it's invisible to almost everyone else. At some point, amid the confusion and the rituals, a question rises almost as loud as the obsessions themselves. When will this end? How long until I feel normal again? Today, we're diving deep into that very question. But not with false hope or easy answers. This is a brutally honest, science-backed, and compassion-filled look at how long OCD recovery can take, what recovery really means, and why every second spent healing is worth it. Whether you're at the beginning of your journey, stuck in the middle, or supporting someone you love, this video is for you. Let's start by unraveling what OCD really is. At its core, OCD is a neurobiological condition characterized by obsessions, intrusive, unwanted thoughts, images or impulses, and compulsions, which are repetitive behaviors or mental rituals done to neutralize the anxiety those obsessions cause. These compulsions can be visible, like checking if the stove is off, or entirely internal, like mentally replaying a conversation to see if you said something wrong. OCD is often misunderstood in pop culture. We've all seen the tropes: the clean freak, the perfectionist, the person who alphabetizes their books. But real OCD is far more intense and painful. It can involve fears about harming loved ones, obsessing over morality or religion, or needing to confess things constantly just to feel okay. These obsessions are ego-dystonic, meaning they feel completely out of alignment with who the person is. That's part of what makes them so disturbing. The important thing to understand is that OCD is not a choice, and it's not simply a behavioral issue. It's rooted in the way the brain processes fear, doubt, and uncertainty. People with OCD experience a sort of false alarm system that gets stuck in overdrive. The brain misfires, signaling danger even when there is none, and then demands certainty that reality can never fully give. This creates a vicious loop that can consume hours of a person's day, robbing them of peace, time, and trust in their own mind. The word recovery can be misleading, especially when we're talking about mental health. People often imagine recovery as a destination. One day you're sick, the next you're cured. But with OCD, recovery looks different. It's not about becoming someone who never has intrusive thoughts. That's not realistic. Intrusive thoughts happen to everyone, yes, even people without OCD. The difference is in the reaction. In OCD recovery, the goal is not to control thoughts, but to change your relationship with them. Instead of responding with fear, avoidance, or compulsions, you learn to let the thoughts be there without acting on them. You learn to accept uncertainty, to tolerate discomfort, and to resist the urge to fix something that isn't actually broken. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen with the right tools, time, and support. Recovery also means regaining what OCD has taken from you. Maybe it's time or energy or your sense of identity. Maybe it's being able to watch a movie without analyzing it for hidden meaning. Maybe it's hugging your child without fear of what your brain might whisper. These moments, though small on the surface, represent massive victories. They mean freedom. And while full cure might not always be attainable, a life filled with joy, meaning, and manageable symptoms absolutely is. Now, to the heart of the question, how long does it take to recover from OCD? The honest answer is, it depends, but let's unpack what that actually looks like. OCD recovery often happens in stages, and each person moves through them at their own pace. The first stage is recognition and diagnosis. This may sound simple, but for many, it takes years. People often don't realize that their distressing thoughts are symptoms. They may think they're just anxious or worse, fear that their thoughts make them a bad person. Some hide their struggles for fear of being judged. On average, research shows it can take 14 to 17 years from the onset of symptoms to receive a proper diagnosis. That's a long time to suffer in silence. The second stage is active treatment, usually involving ERP exposure and response prevention. This is a structured form of therapy where individuals gradually expose themselves to feared situations and resist doing their usual compulsions. It's difficult and sometimes terrifying, but over time, it rewires the brain's fear response. In intensive formats, like daily or weekly therapy, people often begin to see improvement within 3 to 6 months. In more spaced-out treatment formats, this stage can take 6 to 12 months or longer. The third stage is maintenance and relapse prevention. After the most distressing symptoms are under control, the work doesn't stop. People must continue practicing their skills, watch for new or shifting obsessions, and prepare for setbacks. This phase can last years, and in many ways, it never fully ends. But just like a diabetic learns to manage their health long-term, individuals with OCD can maintain stability and prevent relapse with consistent self-care. The last stage is what we might call resilient living. Here, OCD may still show up, but its impact is small. Thoughts no longer trigger panic, rituals are optional rather than required, and life opens back up. People return to school, build relationships, have children, travel, laugh again. This is the phase where OCD is no longer in control, and that, for many, is the ultimate form of recovery. So, why do some people recover faster than others? Multiple factors influence how long OCD recovery takes. First is the timing of treatment. The earlier someone begins therapy after symptoms appear, the more responsive the brain tends to be. Chronic OCD, left untreated for many years, can become more entrenched, making the rewiring process longer and more complex. Next is the severity and subtype of OCD. For example, someone with contamination OCD may respond differently to ERP than someone with pure obsessional OCD, where the compulsions are mostly mental and invisible. Intrusive thoughts involving harm, morality, or taboo content can take longer to unpack because they trigger deeper shame and fear of judgment. Co-occurring conditions, such as depression, PTSD, ADHD, or eating disorders, can also impact recovery time. These conditions may require parallel treatment plans and can slow progress if not addressed. Access to proper care is another critical factor. ERP is a specialized form of therapy, and unfortunately, not all therapists are trained in it. Misinformed treatment approaches, like talk therapy that indulges compulsive reassurance, can stall or even worsen symptoms. Finding a qualified OCD specialist can make a significant difference. And finally, external support plays a huge role. A strong support network, friends, family, community, who understand OCD and encourage exposure practices can accelerate healing. On the other hand, well-meaning loved ones who enable compulsions can unintentionally reinforce the disorder. Let's talk about hope. Because behind every statistic, there's a story, and many of them are powerful. One woman who lived with scrupulosity OCD said that for years, she believed her intrusive religious thoughts meant she was evil. But through ERP and the support of her therapist, she learned to sit with uncertainty and reclaim her spirituality on her own terms. Today, she leads support groups for others with the same struggle. Another young man dealt with harm OCD and avoided his nieces and nephews out of fear he might lose control. After months of ERP, he now babysits them with joy, fully present. He still has thoughts sometimes, but they no longer control his behavior. He calls it freedom within fear. These are not rare exceptions. Recovery from OCD is not only possible, it's happening every day. People from all backgrounds, all ages, are walking this path, facing their fears and reclaiming their lives. The road is hard, yes, but it's paved with possibility. Perhaps the most important lesson in OCD recovery is this: healing isn't about being fearless, it's about learning how to fear less. Recovery builds a mental muscle that goes beyond OCD. It teaches you how to live with doubt, how to tolerate discomfort, and how to stop giving power to every thought that pops into your head. These are life skills, skills that strengthen you for whatever challenges come next. Over time, many people find that what they learned through ERP helps them far beyond OCD. They become more confident in relationships, more resilient in the face of life's uncertainties, more compassionate with themselves and others. Recovery becomes a form of emotional maturity, a quiet strength that can't be taken away. So, how long does it take to recover from OCD? There is no single answer. For some, it may be 6 months. For others, 2 years or more. But time isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. And progress, no matter how slow, is still progress. Your journey is not a failure if it doesn't look like someone else's. You are not behind. You are becoming. Every intrusive thought you allow to pass, every ritual you resist, every step you take into discomfort, that is bravery in action. That is healing. If this video spoke to you, please consider leaving a comment or sharing your experience. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to keep going. And always remember, OCD is strong, but you're stronger. Recovery is slow, but it is real. And your life is still yours to live, fully, deeply, and free.